If the next war breaks out, it may not begin with bombs falling on Tehran. It could begin with oil tankers burning at sea, with drones striking distant bases, with markets crashing thousands of miles away. Right now, as a U.S. carrier strike group moves into the Middle East and Donald Trump openly warns that Iran could be next, one question is quietly terrifying governments, investors, and militaries around the world. If the United States strikes Iran, how does Iran strike back? Before we go any further, if you want clear, fact-based breakdowns of global conflicts and power struggles as they unfold, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Coded News. These stories move fast, and context matters more than ever. Iran has spent nearly half a century preparing for a war it knows it cannot win head-on. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iranian leaders have assumed that a confrontation with the United States was not a matter of if, but when. And because Iran cannot match American military power plane for plane or ship for ship, it built something else instead. A strategy designed not to defeat the United States, but to make war unbearably costly. Today, even after suffering major blows from Israeli and American strikes last summer, and even as domestic unrest simmers inside the country, Iran remains wounded, but dangerous. And that is what makes this moment so volatile. Experts say Tehran still has multiple ways to retaliate if Trump orders an attack. Some are military, some are political, and some could shake the global economy itself. How Iran responds depends on one thing above all else: whether its leaders believe the regime itself is facing an existential threat. As one Iran security expert put it, if Tehran believes this is the final war, they may throw everything they have. The most immediate option is also the most obvious: missiles and drones. Iran possesses one of the largest missile arsenals in the Middle East. Thousands of ballistic missiles and drones are believed to be within range of U.S. forces stationed across the region. From Iraq and Syria to Kuwait, Qatar, and the Gulf states, there are between 30,000 and 40,000 American troops spread across 8 or 9 major facilities in the Middle East. Every one of them sits within reach of Iranian weapons, and Iran has shown that it is willing to use them. Last June, after Israel launched a surprise attack on Iranian territory, Tehran responded with waves of ballistic missiles and drones fired directly at Israel. Some were intercepted, others were not. The damage was real, and the message was clear. Iran could overwhelm even sophisticated air defenses by sheer volume. Iranian officials now claim that much of the missile stockpile used in that exchange has already been replenished. U.S. officials believe that while many of Iran's systems are older than American weapons, they remain battle-tested, lethal, and difficult to neutralize all at once. One weapon in particular has changed modern warfare: the Shahid suicide drone. Originally developed by Iran and later supplied to Russia, the Shahid drone has proven devastating in Ukraine. It is cheap, easy to mass-produce, hard to detect, and capable of striking with precision. Multiply that by thousands, and suddenly even a technologically superior force faces serious risk. Iran has also developed more than 20 types of ballistic missiles, short-range, medium-range, and longer-range systems capable of threatening not just U.S. bases in Israel, but targets as far away as southern Europe. This is why U.S. officials privately admit that a decisive strike on Iran would be far more complicated than previous military operations. But missiles are only one layer of Iran's strategy. Another is something Iran has relied on for decades: proxies. For years, Iran has built a network of allied militias and armed groups across the Middle East, a so-called axis of resistance. That network has taken serious damage over the past 2 years, particularly from Israeli operations. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been battered after more than a year of conflict. Its once formidable arsenal has been reduced, and it now faces pressure at home to disarm. In Iraq, Iranian-backed militias remain powerful, but they are constrained by a government under heavy U.S. pressure to limit Iranian influence. Still, these groups are not gone, and they are issuing warnings. Iraqi militias such as Kataib Hezbollah and Harakat al-Nujaba, groups that have previously attacked U.S. forces, say they are ready to act if Iran is struck. This week, the commander of Kataib Hezbollah openly called on Iran's supporters across the globe to prepare for all-out war in defense of the Islamic Republic. Then there is Yemen. The Houthi movement has been repeatedly targeted by both the US and Israel, but it remains one of Iran's most disruptive allies. With Iranian backing, the Houthis have already struck Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, and American ships in the Red Sea. Just days ago, the group released a video showing a ship engulfed in flames. The caption was only one word: soon. This is what makes proxy warfare so dangerous. Iran does not have to attack directly. It can stretch the battlefield across multiple countries, overwhelm defenses, and force the US and its allies to respond in many places at once. But perhaps Iran's most powerful weapon is not military at all. It is economic. Iran sits astride one of the most strategically important choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway carries more than 1/5 of the world's oil and a massive share of global liquefied natural gas. Every day, tankers loaded with energy supplies pass through waters Iran can threaten. Tehran has repeatedly warned that if it is attacked, the war will not stay in the Middle East. It will hit the global economy. Even partial disruptions to shipping through the strait could send oil prices soaring overnight. Fuel costs would spike. Supply chains would fracture. Inflation would surge. Energy experts warn that a prolonged closure could trigger a global recession. This option is also the most dangerous, not just for the world, but for Iran itself. Blocking the strait would hurt Iran's own economy and anger neighboring Arab states whose cooperation Tehran needs. Many of those states have already urged Trump not to strike Iran and have refused to allow their territory to be used for an attack. That is why experts believe Iran would treat this as a last resort. But last resorts exist for a reason. Iran says it has built underground naval bases along its coastline, stocked with fast attack boats, submarines, and mines. For decades, its military has prepared for exactly this kind of confrontation. And history shows this threat is not theoretical. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, Tehran laid sea mines in the Persian Gulf. One nearly sank a US Navy frigate in 1988 during what became known as the Tanker War. In 2019, oil tankers were attacked in the Gulf of Oman amid rising tensions after Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. Iran was widely believed to be responsible. More recently, during the Israel-Hamas war, Houthi attacks in the Red Sea disrupted nearly 10% of the world's seaborne trade. Taken together, Iran wields outsized power to inflict economic pain far beyond its borders. As one defense expert put it, the next war might not begin in Tehran. It might begin at sea, and that is why this moment matters. Iran is weaker than it has been in years, but it is also cornered. The United States is militarily superior but deeply exposed, and Donald Trump now faces a decision that could reshape the Middle East, global markets, and America's role in the world. Is a strike meant to deter Iran? Or does it risk unleashing a conflict that no one can fully control? That is the question hanging over the region tonight, and the answer may come sooner than anyone expects. If you want continued, fact-based coverage as this story develops, subscribe to Coded News, because when global power collides, understanding what comes next is everything.